Right, let's hear from a man who will be taking centre stage on Saturday night. It's the challenger for Lawrence Okolie's WBO belt. It's David Light. David, welcome, first of all, and thank you for taking the time on Fight Week to join us on the Toe2Toe podcast. First off, where are you? It looks like a hotel.
Yeah, it's the Crown Plaza. They've been nice and set us up in a good hotel, nice and central.
How have you settled?
Good.
How have you settled in the UK? Because it's a long old journey. You came over nice and early. How have you settled in?
No, it's been real good. We're caught up. Sleep's going fine. Really acclimatized now. Everything's looking good for the fight.
What gym did you use, mate? What gym have you been using?
I think it's called the Finest Boxing Gym. I think it's only a 5-minute walk or something from here.
Okay, cool.
You did an interview with Sky Sports earlier in the week, and I think the line that stood out to everybody was, you always feel that coming into these fights, you're written off from the start, from the get-go. Yeah. But actually, that kind of suits your mentality and your approach. Is that the same for Saturday?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Like, I'm used to it now. That's how I like to feel. I feel like there's sort of no pressure on me. I just got to go in and do what I do, and I feel like all the pressure is sort of on him to prove himself again.
Not everyone will know your background, and I hope I've got this right, but one of 8 siblings, being one of 3 myself, that sort of does encourage a fighting spirit around dinner time. So with 8, how much did that fighting spirit come from having to make sure that you fought your way through it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, like, especially with my 4 brothers, because it was 3 girls, then 5 boys.
Wow.
So I spent most of my time growing up with my brothers who were pretty ruthless. And my mum and dad were running a business, and she was getting home at like 9 o'clock and cooking. And, she was real tired and not always having enough food on the table, really. And I would go without food sometimes. And, that was just part of life. Part of who I am now.
There you go. That's real fighting spirit. That's how it all comes about.
Yeah.
Can we look at your last fight? And really, that's the fight that sort of brought you to everybody's attention, I think it's fair to say. And that's not to do down your previous fights, but the Brandon Glanton fight had a little bit of hype around it, and it was such a good fight to watch. You were the underdog going into that one. How do you reflect on the whole performance and the result at the end of it?
Yeah, I knew he was gonna. Yeah, I knew he had no respect for me, and I knew he thought he was just gonna blow right through me, and that I had to kind of meet fire with fire. So that's what I did, and I think I shocked him, and that's what I like to do. I like to shock people and show that I've got. I try and come across as a nice guy. Being brought up as the youngest of 8, you don't really get to talk a lot of smack. But getting in the ring, that's when I'm allowed to be a. So that's when I do that.
That fight was really easy on the eye to watch, just because you both almost fought fire with fire. Does it bother you at all that he took Brandon Glanton on as his chief sparring partner? Is that good business and from his side, or does that sort of thing bother you at all?
Nah, I don't care, man. Do what you got to do. We're gonna do. Everyone does what they think is best, and we're gonna see if it helps or not.
Lawrence has got a little bit of a reputation. You mentioned smack talk there, maybe not your natural game. Lawrence can talk a little bit, although I think we've worked with him since the start, so we're a bit more familiar with him, and maybe actually he doesn't do a hell of a lot of himself, but you would think he might have 1 or 2 things to say this week. If he does, is that the sort of thing that would get under your skin or bother you? From this couple of minutes that we spoke to you, I get the impression it doesn't bother you.
Yeah. I think even if it did, I wouldn't say it did. But it's just, it doesn't really, I know when you get in the ring, it doesn't matter who you're hanging out with. It doesn't matter who's your coach. It doesn't matter. It's just you in there. And it's just going to be me and him. And he's going to have to rely on his boxing skills in that moment. So that's all I care about.
I mean, I've watched, obviously, the fight with Brandon. And I would, with all due respect, you've got a smaller stature to what Lawrence is. You've got a sort of normal stature to what Lawrence has been very accomplished at. So what is it that you build, you believe that you bring to the table that's going to be different to every other opponent fighting this unbeaten fight with quite a awkward style? What is it you bring to the table?
Well, yeah, I think he's. I think a lot of people have they've become intimidated in the ring. Like I can see that a lot with his previous fights, and you just got to go in there and you can't let him have his way, and that's what I've been working on. And you can talk all about it, but it's all the work that we put in the ring and put in with our sparring partners and all that. And I think that's what we're going to show on the night.
Sort of carrying on from what Gary was saying there, I want to make sure I word this right because I don't want to upset you. But one of the great things about the Brandon Glanton fight was that you both took a shot to give a shot, and it was a real humdinger in that respect. With Lawrence, he is known as a power puncher. That's something we've seen firsthand. Have you guys sat down behind closed doors and thought, look, we can't afford to have that approach. We have to tighten up defensively, or does that take away from your natural game?
Yeah, I mean, he's a completely different fighter to Brandon Glanton. It's completely different. So if we were going in with the exact same game plan, then we'd be screwed. So, we've identified some things and we've changed up a lot. And it's quite a fast turnaround, I guess, from the last fight. But we've been really fortunate with sparring partners. We've been able to get to emulate as much as we can, this fight. So that's what we've been working on, and I think we've come up with something really good. We've shown a lot of progress, and we're really happy with the sparring, and that's what I think we're going to be able to show. I'm here to shock everyone. I'm not here to just collect a paycheck or anything. I'm here to win.
Love that talk.
Yeah, that's what we want to hear.
That's what we want.
That's what we want to hear.
What we want.
Do you know what's really interesting about what you say there, though? You talk about the fast turnaround. That can have positives and negatives. The thing with Lawrence Okolie is he's been out for such a long time. He's lost every bit of momentum that he had in his career. And I think, I'm not a fighter myself, but you hear fighters talk about boxers' biggest enemy is inactivity and rust. You won't have that, presumably.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. He's obviously a different stature, and everyone likes to tell me how awkward he is and stuff, but I'm not letting that get to me. I've been really active, and sometimes a bit of time out of the ring can be a good thing. Sometimes changing a trainer, a couple of months before the fight can be a good thing. Sometimes it'll be a disastrous thing. So let's see what it is.
Joseph Parker came on the podcast with us not so long ago, and he was singing your praises. Do you have a relationship with him at all, other than the fact that you're from the same part of the world? But so he was always going to back his man. But he said, listen, he can really punch, and Lawrence has got to make sure he doesn't take one of those shots.
Yeah, me and Joe, we were in the New Zealand national team together. We tried out for the Olympics together. We've been mates for ages, and we were weekly sparring partners and all that kind of thing. So Joe's always been the absolute man. He supports all the boys. He tries to really build up all the boys from New Zealand. And he's a great dude.
It's interesting what that would mean to New Zealand for you to go home with that belt. It feels like that you're riding a bit of a crest of a wave at the moment. There is some real talent coming out of New Zealand. Obviously, Joseph, in recent history, set the ball rolling, but there's a few of you guys coming through now.
Yeah, I think the talent's always been there, eh? Like, we've always had really talented guys. We've just not had the structures in place to really get us prepared properly for these big events. But now that, the whole world is becoming professionalized in sports, you're really starting to see an emergence coming out of Australia and New Zealand, and you're able to see those talented guys get a proper crack at reaching their potential.
Do you feel any less pressure that you're doing it away from home? What I mean by that is coming to Manchester and flying under the radar a little bit at the early part of your career. You've done your learning sort of where learning should be a lot of the time. You haven't got to do it on the main event. You feel that time is right for you now. Timing is everything in boxing, and this is your time.
Yeah, I think the last few fights, I've built up to it properly. I've taken, each step, not just fought a bunch of bums in my own backyard so I can get into the top 15 and just taken the the top fight. I got myself to the mandatory position. I earned my way there. And now I have this, because I could have taken this fight a few years ago when Okolie had a opponent fall out and they gave me a week to fly over here and take it. And I said no, because I want to do it this way. And now I've done it this way because we're following a plan, because we really want to win. And this is us doing the best crack that we can at this thing. And now I feel fully confident from everything we've done, this whole journey that we've done. It just feels right.
That'd be, I mean, if you were to pull off an amazing victory against on Saturday night, that would really set up a great fight with your Australian counterpart, Tipia, who beat
Marius Bradis.
Marius Bradis, would it not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there's heaps of fights. The cruiserweight division's getting amazing, and it's awesome to be part of it at this time in history. Like, it's not just guys looking as a stepping stone into the heavyweights where they're going to make their real money. It's like, it's becoming a proper division that people are really starting to focus in on and look at. And, there's my guy at home, David Nika. I'm sure there'll be a big domestic fight. This fight with Jaya Pataya. There's, I'm pretty sure they're going to want me to come back and fight all the other cruiserweights here. So, there's heaps of options after this fight. That's what I'm looking forward to. It's awesome to be part of that.
Yeah, you stole my line there, because that's the one thing in terms of divisions. We've got a lot of guys world ranked there or thereabouts, aside from Lawrence. And, of course, David Nico that you mentioned there, who was over with Andy Lee when he was training alongside Joseph Parker. Yeah, there's a lot of irons in the fire, and I'm sure that you'll look to get part of that. Have you got a message for everyone back home before we let you go? Because I'm worried that we're keeping you from your daily activities on fight week.
That's all good. I'm just, super stoked. I've been getting a lot of positive messages from people at home, and I know heaps of people are interested in this fight and behind me. So I'm just really grateful to everyone back home and in the UK who are going to watch this fight.
Yeah, top man, David. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch up with you later in fight week. We're on our way up on Wednesday, so we'll see you from Thursday onwards, and best of luck for the last few days.
Ciao, boys. Thank you.
Take care.